Welcome back, everyone, to Gamers Against Suicide 2025. We are raising money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I'm your host, Jens, and next up we have a Sega Sonic the Hedgehog run by TempestMask1000. So I'll hand it over to you.
All right. Hello, friends and fellow gamers. My name is Tempest. Some of you know me as Steve, and welcome to SegaSonic the Hedgehog. This is a very interesting Sonic the Hedgehog classic era game that I'm sure most people might not know about. To explain, this was exclusively released in Japan with plans to have ported it for American audiences because there is data within this game that Dr. Robotnik in his Sonic Sat AM cartoons era design exists. And yeah, unfortunately, it was not meant to be. Not even the Sonic Gems collection was able to bring this over, sadly. But it is still fairly known for the people that know about the other two playable characters, that being Ray the Flying Squirrel and Mighty the Armadillo. This is how they got their introduction before Mighty at least had the opportunity to be Knuckles Chaotix. Aside from that, though, this game is very fun in my opinion, and it is also probably one of the easiest Sonic the Hedgehog runs that you could ever learn. Take my word for it, because if you're not convinced by the end of this showcase, well, fair enough. But today I'm going to actually be using a keyboard display. For anybody that is able to take a look at my camera right here, I've got the four cardinal direction arrow keys as well as the control key because I am emulating this on MAME. We do have a category, though, for anybody interested that does involve original hardware, which has become a little bit more successful upon certain opportunities, including most recently SGDQ. So a bunch of runners actually did have themselves recording all sorts of runs, and now that category on the leaderboard has been piling up. So shout outs to all those people. But for me, this is always how I've been running the game, and we'll be getting this thing started. So I'm gonna put in some virtual credits into the machine, and time will begin once I select my character, which for today's purposes, we'll go with Sonic the Hedgehog. So 3, 2, 1, go. So the first thing you need to know about the overall gameplay is that this is a isometric platformer, but not in the typical sense of platforming. You're actually going to see that there's not really a whole lot of things to jump onto. Rather, the jump itself is treated as more of an attack to get yourself out of dodge. But even then, the irony is that whatever enemies we find are not going to be able to be busted by the jump. Well, okay, actually, that is a lie. There are some enemies that can be defeated by the jump, but that's a rarity in itself, which is not usual for any kind of classic Sonic the Hedgehog video game. Now, with that in mind, though, you're also going to notice that despite having this diagonal direction going on, you're also seeing that Sonic is kind of veering to the bottom. And that's because emulating this game always means that sadly there was going to be a little bit of imperfection in the controls, but that's mostly okay, because running on the keyboard, well, compared to the alternative, where the original game was played off of, believe it or not, a trackball controller. Alright, unfortunately I was not able to get the first and really only, like, time-saving skip, which is you can jump over that gate if you time things just right. I only really got it, like, once so far, and that was in a practice run for another event that happened this weekend. So, of course, shout out to Running for Reals. But aside from that, we're basically going to go through 7 levels, 6 of which have alliterations for names, so enjoy the fact that there's a nice, I want to say double alphabet. I don't know. I it's the morning. I can't really, my brain is not in full energy mode right now, so I'm just gonna have to leave that thought right over there. And with that, we're just gonna go from Volcanic Vault into Icy Isle. And so yeah, there's you're noticing by now that, whoops, well, first and foremost, I have a health bar, which is not your usual spiel for a Sonic game. You do see that this game does also have rings, though, and while collecting them is nice and nice and all, they do not save you from dying. See, instead of collecting rings and taking a hit and ending up losing those rings, you actually do have a proper health bar, but rings can restore your HP by a small amount. So if you do wish to collect them for that particular reason, well, that's perfectly valid. However, you'll also notice at the end of the results screen for the first 6 levels that there is a bonus, and that applies to whenever you collect 50% of the rings in a level. And yeah, that's something I don't necessarily want to do, because that's just going to be a bit of a time waster, but the leaderboard does have a all bonuses category alongside the beat the game category, so you know, something that runners can try if they so wish to. Kind of like a completionist category in that way. So yeah, that was Icy Isle. Now we're going to be heading in to Desert Dodge. This is where we start to see some badniks within the game, but these are not the kind that you can bust open with your spin jump. Really, the only enemies that you can do that with are the boss at the end of level 5, and then the foes that you'll find underwater in Wild Waterway Stage 6. Now, with that, we're just going to avoid this giant desert twister. You got a bunch of, whoa, quicksand pitfalls. You're noticing that the game has specific edge detection when it comes to falling. So even in midair, Sonic just gets himself stuck like that, and for no reason in particular. But it is a thing that is unique to this game. I do want to be very mindful of that. And yeah, otherwise I have to quickly readjust in order to not lose too much time, or, you know, to that little animation, or, you know, hopefully not lose any HP, because if you don't do it quick enough, you will fall, and that will take away a chunk of your bar. Now, of course, it very well may be possible to do this deathless, but good luck on that, because I've not pulled that off at once, and Wild Waterway is the biggest culprit of that. So that's Desert Dodge done. We're going to be moving into Trap Tower next. The overall arcane plot of this game is that Sonic, Mighty, and Ray were captured by Dr. Eggman and taken to this devious island where they must escape from the whole darn place. And that's about it, really. So, you know, this is actually Eggman showing a little bit of confidence in a game like this one, huh? Alright, so at the moment, I think this will be a good time for any announcements for Jens to go ahead and talk about while I go through the club.
So, as I mentioned before, we are raising money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. We have a link pinned in the chat if you want to donate. All donations go directly to the foundation. So yeah, if you want to donate, there's a link pinned. It's for a good cause. And I would also like to mention that if you are ever in need of mental health but don't know where to go, there's a website called Find a Helpline.com, which will help you find a helpline. Back to you.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Oh, geez. So yeah, unfortunately, I did take my first death there. You know, when you put a pool of oil in the game and you expect your booby traps to try and not, you know, cause your whole entire base to go up in flames, maybe oil was not the best idea in the first place. Just saying, Dr. Eggman. But shout out to the voice acting in this game as well, by the way, because this was actually during a time before Sonic eventually got his longtime voice actor in Japan, Junichi Kanemaru. And this is actually Takeshi Kusao, who some people may know for his role as the voice of Trunks from Dragon Ball Z. So, yeah, big shout out to him for actually getting the honor to voice Sonic well before Junichi Kanemaru. It's pretty interesting. Alright, here we go. Nice first catch. This one I always have to, like, wait for the second swing to happen before I can jump off. I think I can get off beforehand, though. There's some things about this game's controls that sometimes elude you. But yeah, we are... Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Yeah, sorry. I almost lost control there. What? How did I fall? Okay, that's interesting. Anyway, I want to avoid that little fake backdrop right there, because if I do happen to touch it, my head gets completely stuck, like a cartoon character. And that's death. Unfortunate, but hey, this game has a big quarter muncher mentality to it, so alas, that's just how it do be. And, of course, Sonic, can you actually jump? I mean, come on, man, I'm pressing the button here. Yeah, this is that boss.
These games were made to take your orders.
They really were. Now, that was the boss that I was alluding to earlier, and you want to be very careful of the flamethrower and the electric fence, because those are two separate sources of being hit, and that can zap away your HP and completely take you out. It's happened to me at least a few times before in my history of running this game, which, by the way, shout out to Golden, the proprietor of the community-run 12-hour challenges. I've actually learned this game through doing one. It was actually the 12th community established one, coincidentally, so yeah, I've been running this game since. It's always a personal favorite of mine. Oh, I gotta hold my breath for a second. Ah, what the heck? No, I'm not gonna do that to you. I should have warned you, but usually what I like to do in this level is I usually like to hold my breath for the entirety of this water section, and let the host take over with things. But in this case, we're actually going to talk a little bit about the level. So I'm going to put that on hold for once. I just thought I'd tease y'all and do it a little. But Wild Waterway is probably the biggest time loss that you can potentially get, and mostly due to, well, not from that enemy right there, but rather from the second half of this stage, and you're going to be seeing that coming right up with the raft platforms. So, this game, notice that with my movement, Sonic sometimes likes to move in weird ways, and that's mostly just how the game, again, tries to make this a trackball-based movement system, right? Well, the problem is, if the game has you try to get off of a raft platform, then yeah. The moment you respawn, you try to press the arrow key, and yet it just has Sonic force Sonic into this downward movement anyway, that you've got no choice but to take the L, and that's why you gotta, like, jump like what I'm doing right here whenever that happens. But even then, the hitbox is still unforgiving. Thankfully, we're out of there, though. So Wild Waterways is down, and now we're moving into Eggman Tower. This level does not have any rings, and time will be coming up soon, but right now, what we gotta do is go through another series of traps, work our way up to the Doc himself, and, yeah, he's gonna activate this self-destruct sequence. The final sequence that will lead up to the timer stopping will be a countdown that will determine whether I get the good ending or the bad ending. The idea is you gotta just get out of the place. And Sonic, could you please move? Good grief. Well, hang on a second. Alright, let's get out of this. Also, shout out to Dr. Eggman's machine that captured Sonic making a return here. Alright, we're at it. So there will be a countdown at the escape sequence. And how that'll work is I have to get to the exit before time runs out. Should time run out, that'll be time. Otherwise, if I do happen to get out of there, then that will be time the moment I enter the door frame. So let's be ready for that. But for now, if I can just try to avoid these traps. Good grief. The game's giving me a hard time on a level that I don't usually fail this set of obstacles on. So yeah, we are actually coming up to the doctor's main computer room very soon, so I'd say this is a good opportunity for some quick announcements if we have any.
So yeah, as I mentioned before, we are raising money for the American Prevention Foundation. We have a link to donate Bint. So if you want to donate, you can via that link, and everything goes directly to the foundation. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much. Also, Eggman. So now he's making his escape. Unfortunately, we do not get to fight him. Word of the wise, don't let yourself die in this section, otherwise you soft lock the game. My pal Jossum Sauce unfortunately had to find that out the hard way. And here we go. Time. That's it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Curious to know what my final time is.
In stream it says it's 13:25. So.
Not too shabby. Yeah, that was pretty good. I think I could have gotten it much faster had it not been for Wild Waterways being Wild Waterways. But, you know, once you figure out the trick on how to try and keep things going, it is possible to PB this eventually for me. Anyway, yeah, that was SegaSonic the Hedgehog. Like I said, I really do appreciate this game. It is fun to play. It is very easy to learn as a Sonic speedrun. And if you wish to join our crew of those that have taken on the tasks of doing this fast, well, join the Classic Sonic Community Discord, speedrunning Discord. Our link is available on all Classic Sonic game pages. Aside from Origins, which does have its own speedrunning community, shout out to them as well, of course. And that'll be it for me. Thank you very much for having me for Gamers Against Suicide. I do want to say that as somebody that sometimes has some struggles with my own mental health, I do want to say never be afraid to reach out to others for help. Having the company and assurance of others is never a weakness, and you should always take that to heart, because you know what they say about the power of friendship, it really goes a long way. And with that in mind, that's just basically it for me. Wish to give me a follow. I'm TempestMask1000 here on Twitch and YouTube, and I've got some other social medias you can follow. Aside from that, I think it's time I go ahead and eat some breakfast.
All right.
Ciao, Michi.
All right. Thank you for being here, and I guess we're moving along to the next game in a few minutes.